everyone. Just want to do a recap video for the last Elite Series tournament on the St. Lawrence River out in New York. Ended up in 39th place, which I'm pretty happy with. If you followed along at all on the Facebook, Instagram stuff, I had some battery issues the first 2 days of practice, which I lost about 9 or 10 hours between the first 2 days trying to get that figured out. And so I'm really happy with the finish, honestly. I found one area the last full day of practice that I had and was able to, catch some nice fish and come out with a decent finish. So the practice was not great because of the problems I had. I caught some fish. The first 2 days I was out on Lake Ontario, which is where I figured it would really go down at. And I caught plenty of fish, but I just didn't find any groups of the right size. So the third day of practice I spent in the river, and I found one area that had a good number of fish. I caught some decent ones, and there was numbers around. I didn't spend a lot of time trying to catch them. I just knew there was fish there. I had one shallow area, and I had one area, deep area, with several different spots that I basically just decided that's where I was going to spend the tournament, and try to dissect it and learn it as I started the tournament. So first day I had 23.5 pounds roughly. I was in 18th place and caught quite a few fish. I had two that were about 5 pounds, one about like a 480 something, and then 4.5, and another good one. I had really good fish. Lost one that would have helped for sure, but overall I was pretty happy with it. Caught the majority of them on a 1/2 ounce tungsten football jig out in like 30 to 45 foot of water, and I did weigh one key fish, like a 4.5 pounder I caught shallower on a tube. So I'll roll some clips here of some fish catches, and then I'll break down day 2 for you.
That's one of them. That a boy. That ain't 4.5. No, nice fish. It is. Dude. That's a football right there. That's a helper. I love that about smaller. Come back 3 times. Is it a good one? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Got it.
Sure looked like it. Sure looked like a 4.
Kitty.
Obviously you saw that.
Dude, I thought it was gone. I get heart attacks. That's insane.
So after the first day, I think I was sitting in 18th place, like I said before, and I was fairly optimistic because I kind of dialed in a half a dozen spots in that area where there was a good number of fish, and there was obviously really nice ones because I had, you know, three really good ones and then two solid ones, and I caught several other nice, you know, 3.5 pound fish. So pretty optimistic. The second day, I started over there again and started running the stuff, and I was catching fish, but they were smaller, and I mean like 2.5 pounders. And then I got onto one little spot and I caught a good one that was close to 5 and another like 4 pounder, and then I lost two. And I'll put the one up of the one I lost by the boat. I actually had my hand on it, and in the competition we have to run a GoPro camera, and I run the YOLO Tech stick, which goes in where your light would go in on the back of the boat. And the model I had was one of the taller ones, and that's where I like to land the fish because I like to grab the fish with my right hand. And so I like to land it behind the driver's seat. And what would happen with them smallies in that current is they would take a run, and I would try to pull them with my rod, and because that camera stick was in there, I'd have to like raise my rod up high instead of keeping it low to keep them down. And I figured it was going to cost me sooner or later. And that particular fish, which was a really good one, it was probably a 4.5 to 5 pounder. I went to move my rod up over that camera pole, and it got a little bit of slack and came off. So that was a tough loss that day, but I still was able to. I went shallow and caught a really good one on a swim bait, and I still had a little over 20 pounds. I moved down to like 30 something, I don't know what place, in the 30s, but I made the day 3 cut. And like I said, I was still optimistic about there being big fish there because I knew they were there. I saw them on my live scope. I caught some of them, so I was still optimistic that I could catch 25 pounds and, you know, move up a little bit more. So I'll put some of the day 2 footage up and then roll into day 3.
No! God! Oh my God!
So going into the third day, I knew there was fish in that area I was fishing, the deep stuff, and I knew there was several of them on that shallow area. And but in the back of my mind, I had some of them spots in the lake in my mind, like, gosh dang, I should go out there and see if, because guys were talking about the bigger fish moving out, and I hadn't touched it, any of that stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna start on the area that I have been catching them, and if I have a decent I'd been catching them really early. I mean, getting 18 to 20, 21 pounds really in the first like hour and a half of fishing. So I told myself, and then it would get real slow, like it was hard to catch them. So I was like, if that happens again, I'm gonna maybe go to the lake and just see what happens. And the other factor that came into that decision was, it was, the wind was really light. It was pretty calm. And the other thing is there was this like boat, they called it a poker run, where there's these giant, I think they're called like cigarette boats. I mean, these giant boats that go up to 200 miles an hour. There was this big rally thing, right? And they would be running up and down the river. And I didn't think they would be in the stretch that I was fishing, because it was kind of on the back channel. But I'm like, well, if that's going to be going on, that's going to be make it hard to fish. So I went and I started where I had been started, and good start. First fish I caught was like a 4 3/4 pounder, and once again I had, you know, a good bag pretty quick. I actually found one little offshoot of one of the shoals I was fishing that I hadn't found the previous days, and I caught like 3 or 4 really quick on a drop shot. That got me up to, I don't know, I had like 18 pounds, 18 and a half pounds, decent start. So it was about, I don't know, it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I'm like, oh dang, I want to go to the lake. And it was about, I think it was 37 miles to go where I was, the first place I wanted to fish. So I ran all the way out there, and I had some fish on beds, which they weren't very big, turns out, and I did see a couple good ones, but I couldn't catch them. And I ended up getting one close to 4 pounds on a deeper, like a 15-foot boulder I had found. And then I ran around and I fished everything else I really had out there, but I was, I had to do it fairly quick because I didn't have a ton of time with the run down there and the run back. But I fished through everything that I had, and I ended up getting that one good one that helped me. And then I decided to run back to that area that I had caught them earlier in the day, earlier in the week, and them frickin' boats were running up and down that channel. It was almost impossible to fish with all them Jim Jacks running around. So that's kind of how it ended. I went back there and I tried fishing for like a half hour, couldn't do it. Went to my shallow stuff. They were running around in there too, so it was almost impossible to fish. So I ended up with like 19 and a half pounds, and I fell down to 39th. So overall, still a good tournament. I'm sitting in 30th for AOY, which I'm fairly happy with. I'm still a little upset after the Pickwick tournament because I would obviously be a lot higher. But I'm still in decent shape to make the Classic if I have solid tournaments in Oahe and in La Crosse. So right now I'm just, getting ready for that. A couple weeks, head out to Oahe and then straight to La Crosse, and cross your fingers that I will be fishing in the Classic in Knoxville next year. So keep following along. I appreciate the support. If you're from the area, you're near La Crosse, it'd be awesome to see you there. There's going to be a lot of people showing up for that event. It's going to be a good event. So hopefully you can make it. Leave me a message or comment below, and if there's anything you want to see or that I'm missing in these videos, let me know, and I'll try to keep posting stuff. So I appreciate the support, and thanks for following along.
Come in here. Oh yeah, that's the one. Go that way. Good one. Helping.